Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Really?
Hey Dale, what's going
Hey,
on?
how are you, Mike?
Yeah,
So, it's Monday night, and we've agreed with you that we're going on Monday nights. We're going to talk a little bit about what are some of the, at least the basic requirements, in our opinion, to be a county commissioner. This is, I think, Mike's least favorite day of the week because I invariably end up trying to encourage him to run for
pretty
county
much.
commissioner, and he doesn't want to run for county commissioner, which is exactly
Yeah.
why he should be county commissioner, because he doesn't want to be.
No, it's not gonna.
This
Yeah,
should be
it's
one
not
of the
gonna happen.
requirements. You have to
Yeah,
swear
perhaps.
that you're not interested in being a county commissioner before it's catch 22.
Yeah. Yes. You see how excited I am about this? I have
He
no,
is.
no, no desire at all.
Okay, so well, one of the things that we do ahead of the show is we talk about how Mike is going to ask me a question about something which he hasn't asked me. So I'll just sit and wait.
Oh, I thought, don't I have more than 1 minute to do that?
Oh, he
Or
needs
it
to rev up. He needs to get ready to
must
ask the question.
no, the next time you ask me to ask you about something,
Yeah.
which of course takes all the wind out of the sails
It
there.
does take
Uh,
all the wind out of the sails, which
yeah.
is why I'm mentioning it, because we
So
show behind the scenes.
the next time that you want me to do that, just
Yeah.
why don't you tell me, hey, like right away, just ask me, right away,
Well,
what this
maybe
campaigns and
near
elections,
the
what
topic.
is this campaigns and elections thing?
I'm glad you asked me about that. This
But
this
yes,
Campaigns and Elections is actually a magazine that's printed in Washington, D.C. I did a couple little artwork kind of things for them before Campaigns and Elections. Their art crew was a bunch of very strange people that
yeah.
everybody seemed to have. I mean, everybody seemed to be wearing a blazer, guys and women both, and each different, so it wasn't like a company blazer, but they all had like a toy car or a toy airplane or some kind of toy that they had appended to their jacket, and this was just the thing that they agreed looked cool. I think it looked kind of dorky. That was my opinion. And they would put out stuff like that. They would make a. Why do I have this near me? I don't know. They would make DVDs. And the kind of DVDs they made had kind of uh, dorky. I was looking for a different word, but my interrupts my thinking process, and it's hard to think of anything else when you're thinking of the word dorky. And what they do is they'd make these DVDs that would or CDs that would have information about various states where you would be trying to conduct campaigns and elections, and
Mm.
so. What they wanted me to do was to work with them on a project to find different shapes and maps and symbols and stuff to go on the white part of the DVD. Well, the only thing is that
Mm.
these DVDs weren't going to be put in and pulled out. They were the kind where you put into a DVD server that has like 50 of them, hello, campaigns and elections, and it would stay there. So what difference did it make if you had a dancing potato for Idaho, since nobody was ever going to see it except for the very first time they inserted it, go, boy, that's a stupid looking dancing potato, and they would put it in there, and that's the last time they'd ever see it. Just when you added up all that stuff, it just seemed like they were just so stuffed full of beans. Oh, Boston. No, they were just so stuffed full of beans. It just was ridiculous to work with these guys. Sorry, but that was my judgment of them. Why would I spend all that time and
Oh,
effort
thou
trying to figure
shalt
out
not judge.
a symbol for Maine that no one's ever going to see? Okay, Maine, yeah, okay, so you pick what the heck? It's not called a scorpion. It's a little bigger and a lot tastier. If you picked a lobster,
Lobster.
okay, a lobster, not a scorpion. It's more tasty than a scorpion. Have you ever had scorpion? Anyway, so what are you going to pick for Vermont? It looks like maple syrup's been poured all
Sure.
over the DVD. What do you? Anyway, I didn't want to be spending my time doing that kind of stuff. So I said, no, thanks anyway. It just wasn't my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We appear to be suffering from a less than optimum connection here this evening because you're coming through all gibberty jabberty, which is not too much different than mine.
Right, exactly. You
But,
took my joke.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm supposed to do the self-effacing humor.
Just letting you know, so if I appear to like be reacting late or something, that's the reason why.
How would we know the difference? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So the thing that we came up with last week, the number one thing that we need in the two commissioners in the election that's coming up, number one, it seems really basic, and it is really basic, but without this, we end up with the commissioners we have now. Honesty. Just plain old, everyday, please, just don't lie to us. Honesty.
Cue the Billy Joel sappy love song music.
About honesty?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Well, ask me about some other genre of music, and perhaps I know something about it.
Listen, I got nothing from the 40s. Dale, before the program, he's like making...
Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. I'm not a 40s baby. So, but I know a little bit about history. I know a little bit about the song Yankee Doodle. It doesn't mean I was born in 1775.
Okay, well, Billy Joel, I mean, we're talking 80s here. How that skipped over you, I'm not really sure.
Was that your favorite era of music? It wasn't mine. How about the 70s? How about disco?
80s music?
No, thanks.
No, but I do like a lot of 80s music.
I don't listen to K-Joe, so it's just not my thing.
Yes, that's not really what I'm talking. I'm not a huge. Why are we doing this? I don't know
why are we talking about this when we were going to be talking about commissioners? You already know. I already told you the reason why Mike doesn't like this, because he doesn't want to be recruited to. I'm worried that God will one day tell me, Dale, go to Africa and ladle soup all day long, and I don't want to do that. And I say, please don't assign me that. And this guy is worried that he might be asked to run for county commissioner. Well, yes. Everyone has different priorities in life.
It really isn't too much different. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad, but I don't want to suffer, two morons,
Yes, who are criticizing you. Is that what you mean?
No,
we're the two morons?
No, it isn't that.
Sure we are.
No, I don't. No. Hello? There are 3 commissioners. I don't want to sit in there with 2 other people that are going to be sandbagging me and looking for some way to get me unseated.
Same thing. I'm just saying the same thing. Hell? This is what what's that guy's name who ran for commissioner that was such a poor choice that we picked Simon Hare over him? Mark Gatlin. Mark Gatlin referred to me as a moron when I pointed out that people in the city could vote in that election where we were deciding about the junk ordinances. And I said, but we can vote in that. Oh, Mark Gatlin, that Dale Matthews is such a moron. Well, it was especially funny since it turned out, yes, you could vote for that. And that's when he decided, I mean, he could pick so many different other times to call me a moron. That was the worst possible time. But anyway, I didn't lose that election. He did. And I thought what Mike was just saying to us was that if he was a commissioner, he would have to suffer the 2 other morons, which were going to be Mike and myself, but in different clothes, that would then be criticizing Mike.
Well, that might suck too.
Yes. Imagine everything that you do. Well, see, if you start out as a liar, I mean, really, if you start out as a liar, you're in for it, because all we're going to do is just go to the meeting and sit and wait for you to lie and say, that was a lie. I hate it when you say that. Stop chortling in the audience. What are you going to do with somebody like that?
Listen, whatever people want to think about Sandy Casanelli, and everybody's perceptions have been altered about who she was while she was in there by people who didn't like her.
And you'll never hear me say anything bad about Sandy Casanelli. I was there with her every step of the way. I was usually the only person in the audience that was a little bit friendly toward her, and she was worried when she went in that it might affect her. She was worried, just as Mike is now. He says, I don't want to go in there and have any of that affect me. Well, see, but that's good in that you understand there is a possibility, and you're going to have to be on guard about that.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that she really got a bad rap because a lot of people had their perceptions influenced, and they went with it not really knowing anything about who she really was, and that's that's a very unfortunate thing. And you know what? There was a bunch of people that were in charge of propagating that perception, and they did a pretty effective job at it, and that's just a sad thing. Those are the people who ought to be tarred and feathered, not Sandy Casanelli.
I see people occasionally who still say, what a moron. And I said, listen, I was there, and most of the time, when the three commissioners would get together, Sandy Casanelli would be the only one that read through the prep material before the meeting. The only one. And she could spout it off, bong, 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 bong. Now, you would listen to her, up at the podium, and she occasionally have problems, as I'm having right now, in saying the words in a row without saying, Okay, this is just, right. I mean, if you are such out there in the audience, if you are a perfect speaker that can get up any time in front of a large group of people, half of whom hate you, and then say things back to back without stumbling the way I am right now, then God bless you. But Sandy Casanelli had some trouble saying things, but she knew what it was she was trying to tell you. Occasionally right. It wasn't coming out sounding, but hey, if you wanted to sound perfect, go with Simon Hare, and he will explain to you at great length, as he did the other day, why he's totally in favor of things like driving under the influence, rehabilitation programs. Really? I mean, and he can be so lucid when it comes to that. Do you believe that he has never done those kinds of things? Has any of us, gone without sinning and etc.? But this is a guy, remember, he was threatening the fellow whose daughter that he called and was sexually harassing with the message. He was trying. He later on said about the cost overruns for the Dimmick Tower that it was due to the EPA.
Right. Yeah. Listen, if we're going to sit here and list Simon's disqualifiers, we don't have enough time for that.
No. So what we started talking about is what are the kinds of traits that you would want. Why is this necessary? I think you all know the answers why this is necessary. Look at the kind of people that we have now. It hasn't always been this way.
But listen, I got to tell you,
I mean, against government.
You're starting from square one with a lot of these people, because a lot of these people don't even know who the commissioners are.
Oh,
they don't understand their character. If they haven't
moved here recently, many people still don't know who the dang commissioners are. That happened one time, since we were talking about Sandy, who was in a parade in Merlin. She lives in Merlin. And there was a lady that was waving her. She says, hello. And she says, are you running for something? She was already a county commissioner. Yeah, I am. What are you going to say to? Why can't you write more like that?
But I mean, the point is that a lot of people, they may, even if they know the names of the commissioners, they don't know their character, and we make the error of presuming that everybody knows as we do, and so that when we, it is probably quite often perceived as we're being a little acerbic when we're discussing these guys, or addressing their shortcomings as somehow being giving unwarranted criticism, and it's it's unfortunate that they don't dive into this as deeply as you do, but it's listen, it's important to understand who these people are and what their characters are.
Well, this is why every once in a while you'll hear me, what? Dale repeats things? He never repeats things. He never repeats things. Listen, one of the reasons that we tell you these things is so that I've spoken with people who've known me for a little while and go, oh, I never heard that story. I never knew that. Don't encourage Dale to tell any of his stories because he'll go on forever, as Mike will tell you. Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Mike, are you still awake?
Yep.
So that was the joke. Anyway, we'll try to remind you about things. We had people when the potential recall of Cheryl Walker was going on that said that were involved in it, that said, I was asked by somebody the other day, what are some of the reasons? Can you remind me what some of the reasons are, Dale? Yes. You know, after a momentary pause for astonishment, yes, I would remind them of the things that had happened with Cheryl Walker that tell you that she is willing. She's just one of those people. You see this every once in a while. You probably know some people like this, maybe even in your own family. I have one who will occasionally just reach up and grab anything and say, this is the truth. And you know, it's not even close. There's no way that that's truthful, but they'll just say whatever it comes into their mind because it sounds good at the moment. And in a few seconds, you're going to realize, no, that can't be right. But 214 full-time family wage jobs created. All three of the commissioners bought into this idea and were trying to tell us that that's what was going to happen by building wheelchair ramps in Ivy. Really?
Yeah, and I've kind of addressed that before. I think that they are searching from the time when they begin, and this happens from, you know, city council all the way up to president of the United States. They're starting to think about how their time in their office was going to be remembered by posterity or something.
Well, for Simon, it's tearing down a building and texting young girls.
Right. Yes, but in his mind, you can be sure that's not what it is. I mean, so you know, all of these people, they're thinking, how can we make ourselves look better? And they think, well, you know, I really would like to create some jobs. And even if I don't know anything about how to do that, let's create a story about how we created some jobs. And this is how they go about it. And it's really kind of weak. But that really is the only explanation. If somebody else has a better one, please ante up. That's all I can come up with because it's the only likely scenario there, I think.
It would explain why they do some of the things they do. Well, okay, so we've talked quite a bit about the honesty issue. To me, the next thing you would think, you know, comes to meetings, knows what's happening or whatever. No, we're talking about a lot more basic than that, and one of them is understand your role, understand what it is, why are you here? To be a public servant. We do not have three commissioners at the moment who see themselves as public servants. I'll give you a perfect example from the past. Talking about Sandy again. Oh, Sandy's going to love me talking about her so much, but this is a perfect example. I had mentioned this to you before. It was the first week, I think, in office, and someone was talking about the paint that had peeled off the walls up in the courthouse, and she said, I got a bunch of paint. We could get together and kind of get to know each other kind of time. I'll pitch in for some pizza. We could, you know, kind of go upstairs and do some painting of some of the corners and stuff. You know, obviously not the entire ceiling. It's not the Sistine Chapel, but, you know, to do this. And Dave Toller, who was the commissioner at the time, said, I'm a highly paid executive. It's not going to be painting anything. I'm a highly paid executive. See, if this is your opinion of yourself, or Judy Aarons comes up in front of Keith Eck, and she's speaking in this little tiny voice of hers, and he later told her she made the mistake of going into his office, and he was bellowing, "You're talking like this!" That's not, but that is his impression. He's the great Heck, and she is the lowly citizen.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
What happened to the idea of public servant? and the fish rots from the head. Oh boy, this is full of today, Dale. That's why when you go to the commissioner's office and you ask for a paper or something, that the secretary there is so rude to you. I don't mean Wendy, she's wonderful, but the other secretary is so rude to you because, these are just citizens. I mean, they're just paying the bills. They're the taxpayers. They're the people whom you're supposed to be serving, but you can treat them any way you want to if you get the cue from your superiors. Screw that idea.
Right.
Or if you listen to Rika Brown, honorable chosen ones. Really, she calls them that. Honorable chosen ones. What country did you grow up in?
Well, I don't want to elect any honorable chosen ones.
No.
That's so. So besides honesty, and listen, honesty covers a lot of ground. But let's take a look at how many of these people who have run for office do you see a large number of times showing up, in back of the election a few weeks?
That's
all of them. You say all of them. That's the answer to that one. And then after, zero.
No. All right, it sounds like the Sandy Casanelli hour, and I'm sorry for that, but what another perfect example. You're getting tired of hearing Sandy. I know, but she is a perfect example. Here was someone that was tossed out on her ear, okay, by a majority of the population that wanted her recalled because she was so stupid. Remember the reason why? Or she was Casanoli when it turns out the math shows us she only voted no 10% of the time. How do you get the name Casanoli unless you're being rolled when you only vote no 10% of the time? I'm not making this up. It's math, okay? So here she was tossed out. Where did you see Sandy Casanelli the next day afterwards, the next week afterwards, the next month afterwards, the next year afterwards? She goes to the county commissioners' meetings because she wants attention? No, because she still cares about the county. So where's Dwight Ellis? He was a commissioner for years. Where's Dave Toller? He was a commissioner for years. Where's any of those guys? Where's Mark Gatlin? I said to Mark, so now that you lost the election, Mark, I guess we won't be seeing much of you at the county commissioners meeting. It was kind of a snarky thing to say, but guess what? Have you seen Mark Gatlin at the county commissioners meetings?
Yeah, no, he doesn't come there, and that's the point, really. People seem to gain their interest in the office right before the election takes place, and not at all after. And it's so why would you want to elect any of these people?
Well, okay, all right, that's a good question. So this is going to be completely self-serving. Number one on the list, who goes to more meetings than anybody else in the universe?
Well, I mean, you have the badge for that one.
I do. I've got that one. Who's number two?
Who's number two?
I don't mean over the years. If it's over the years, it's going to be Sandy Casanelli, obviously. Okay.
Okay.
But who these days? When in the last couple of years, who's number two on the list, on the hit parade of people who've attended? If you're not going to attend, okay, I mean, it's one reason to watch the show. Nobody's blaming you, but if you're not going to attend, then who is it that knows more about what's going on than I do? Okay, as an example, but who's number two?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's a few regulars down there.
Yeah, well, at the moment of meetings on Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's the weekly business session, and Thursday admin meeting, it would be, she was the woman that said that we don't have a website.
Oh, right, yes.
As far as I know. Larry Ford and his wife.
Right, yes.
They attend Wednesday's weekly business session. You probably don't even know who they are, but Larry Ford stands up at the meetings and often says good things about the commissioners.
Right.
If they want any support, they call on Larry Ford. And if they want someone to insist...
And I got to tell you...
Yeah? Go ahead.
I got to tell you, I think even Larry Ford would be better than Keith Heck. I'd rather
Oh,
have him than Keith Heck. I'd rather have him than Simon. I'd rather have
well,
him than Cheryl. You know, because
yeah.
you know what? He does care. The guy comes in, and regardless of whether I agree with him or not, the guy comes to the things, you know.
He does know what happens on the two most important days of the week for commissioners. And we're talking about county politics. We're not talking about, the governor of Nebraska, but yeah.
Yeah, and his only negative is that he's influenced by a pretty bitter woman.
Oh, jeez. Well, she was the one that insisted that we have no website. Really? Really? I mean, I'm not talking about someone that's just being tart. No, you don't have one. No, you don't have one. Hey, that's kind of, it falls into the category of loon. Sorry, but it does. Yeah. There's something wrong with that. Okay, I mean, because all you need to do is go and look.
But then, of course, here we're getting very close to, endorsing Rika Brown or something, and I have to draw the line.
Well, okay, or this kind of line.
Yes.
Or maybe even this kind of line.
Or this way, yes.
That's right, exactly right. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Now you know.
So you have to draw the line. I mean, sanity has to come into play somewhere. That's all.
Well, yeah, I think so. Who would be okay, so there's myself, and then because I go to so many of them, really they're at about maybe 40%, 35 to 40% of what I attend. So I would, given the choice between Keith Heck and Larry Ford, even though I don't agree with Larry, and even though he's kind of a kiss-up, honestly. I mean, sorry, Larry, but you are, So, I mean, he knows what my opinion of him. I talk to him face-to-face, and we talk. I try not to talk a lot to his wife, but she's really a pill, really. And so we could say that on this show. It's okay. It's not scatological. If you want that, go to Mike. But who's the next person on the list as far as attending? I would say at the moment, there's a toss-up between Sandy Casanelli and Mike Jones.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't make it to every one of those things.
Well, that's why you don't know.
I'm not always there. Yeah. Now, I do watch online, and that's an interesting factor, too. I don't know how many people are watching online or how many of those people who watch online make an appearance when they know that, hey, something serious is coming up that I need to be there for.
It's an interesting thing. Like I always say, it better be interesting, Dale. So they were having a talk with fellows from IT at one point, from information technology, and the guy was there and he was giving a report to the commissioners about the number of people who look at the website in general, and then the number of people. One small subset of this is the number of people who look at the videos that have been posted on the website. We don't know how many people look at the cable television live broadcasts. We don't? No, we don't know. And it looks like we're never going to know. It's just a number they don't feel like sharing with us. Part of our transparent government.
Or they may not even have.
The numbers?
Yeah.
That's possible. Okay, so
yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of companies doing ratings on a local level.
No, and certainly not for commissioners' meetings. I mean, come on.
Public access TV.
I mean, what kind of people would pay attention to county politics every day of the week?
Right, yeah. What the heck goes wrong with those people?
Yeah, that might be us. So, but you can tune in anytime you want to, or tune out. That's okay. It's okay. Nobody's blaming you. Yeah. So, yeah, we are. So stop avoiding our show. Click. No, they're not watching. So the guy comes in to do a report, and you can see Simon Hare trying to ward him off about talking about how many viewers, and he's headed toward it. And Simon's, well, okay, so we'll go on to that. Well, I'm not quite finished. And Simon's like, no, there are many other things. I think I got to go to a meeting. Oh, shouldn't this be an executive session? All these various excuses. The guy's not listening. He's not picking up on any of the clues. And Simon doesn't want to say, don't say this in front of the camera. But he's trying to give him a clue, like, nope, well, I guess that's it. No, I've got a little bit more time. He says, I think maybe we're over now. He's like, no, I got a little more time. And he couldn't shut the guy up. And the guy blurts out, that they've got something like, I used to know the exact number was something like 85 views in a month.
Yeah.
Really? Really? And Simon gives this glance at me like, oh man, because, see, I don't even remember the exact number. It was so pathetically small.
Yeah.
Really? That's it? I mean, if we don't get 85 views for this show after a month, I'm going to be crying my eyes out.
Right.
That's how this happened. Really? Really? I mean,
Well,
it used to be a big thing to get 5,000 views for one of our shows and 3,000 and 2,000 and 1,000. Now it's really that, you know, okay, you get that the first day. That's still a pretty big thing. But nah, that's not, and we're closing in on 220,000 views now, and definitely by this summer we'll have 250,000 views. And as I mentioned to you, that's more than, well, more people have viewed this than
than you can imagine.
That's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right. More people are viewing these replays now than viewed video replays during the first 1,000 years of humankind.
Okay.
Well,
alrighty then.
How many people?
Other qualifications for commissioner
yes, the other
are...
qualifications. Well, I'm trying to humor you. You don't even want to talk about this. Okay, so do you go to the meetings? That's a pretty good one. Do you have the feeling that you are a public servant? You can see it's so obvious. I mean, if there's anything that's obvious besides not reading stuff that you've signed, okay, one of the big ones is they don't have the heart of a public servant. They just don't have. I mean, they might like to have the heart of a public servant by ripping it out of my breathing chest. They might like to have that heart, but they don't have one of their own. And so it would be nice if you would elect somebody that feels that they're a servant. The example I gave you before was on a previous show is here's Jesus, and he's in this cave, I think it was a cave, with the apostles, and he's washing their feet. Jesus is washing their feet, and they're arguing among themselves about who's the greatest apostle.
Yes.
Brother.
Well, you know, this
public
is
servant.
Yeah, this is a tough thing to get to because all of these people represented themselves, and you kind of have to, you know, when you're campaigning, you're trying to, you know, tell people who you are, and you know, guess what? They make stuff up about that.
Well,
and
then what you do is there's not that many people from which to choose anyway. So what you do is you pick somebody such as myself, such as Mike, such as Sandy Casanelli, such as some of the other people, Larry Ford, and you say, who has shown that they are this? I mean, if you want to say who could possibly be a public servant, why, you might pick Harry Mackin. He could possibly be a public servant. You look and see what the person's actually done. What evidence have you seen that that's actually what they've done? Now, with Mike as an example, you have seen that he does this kind of work. He talks to you every night with me. He talks to you. He's not getting paid anything to do this. He has demonstrated again and again and again every day of the week that he is a public servant that is doing this without making any money. You're not making any money on this, are you, Mike? It's not like anything you've held back from me, right?
Not yet.
Okay. So
I'm hoping that I'm going to get residuals from the reruns.
Yeah. See, so I'm now part of the Draft Mike Jones movement.
Listen,
now, there's only one of us in the movement so far.
Hey, let me save you some time. Really, I don't have an appetite for that sort of
perfect person to run for office.
I don't need it.
Campaign speech now. Go ahead. Tell us how much you don't want the office. Is this going to count against you?
Yeah. You know what? It's not going to happen. So save your breath.
See, he's got an irritable attitude, which makes him fit in with the others.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna have I'm going to have the deputy throw you out of here in a minute.
Ah, see, he has very little tolerance for me, which is another, apparently, it's another requirement for the position of being commissioner.
Yeah.
He'd rather be behind the camera instead of in front of it. It's all adding up, Mike. It's a conspiracy against you, bud. Campaigns
Yes.
and elections is going to be writing an article about you coming up here pretty soon. You get
Oh
the
yeah,
point.
that's
Okay,
good.
I'm teasing Mike for comedy effect. The thing is, it's true that you should probably want someone who doesn't really want the job. You should want somebody that doesn't want to get paid. That's us. You should want somebody that comes to the meetings that does care about it, whether or not there's a spotlight on them. And there's no spotlight on us just because we're a host of our own show every night and we insist on being on camera. Well, Mike could put up a still picture of himself like this.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that here in a minute.
Okay, so in the little bit of time that we have left, what's one more thing that we can start off with next time so we don't have to start with honesty once again? I think we should do it every time. What's another thing? Oh, someone that's at least willing to listen to the idea that in America, when you vote for something, it means, and when you vote again and again and again and again, would you please listen to us and stop polling us to find out what our opinions are? We already told you, and maybe start with the idea that a majority of the population, we're going to prove this again in May, do not want to have their property taxes raised. So, although that's certainly the thing that most of the candidates would love to have, if you'll start off with the idea that we respect you as citizens, you might be lunkheads, but you're our lunkheads, and we're not going to be pushing another levy on you, and stand up like a brave county commissioner and say, not on my watch, and maybe, just maybe, we will draft you like we're trying to do with Mike Jones. Mike?
Okay.